the Workers' Party surgery Jody Mcintyre had today. This is going to be the first of hopefully a permanent monthly surgery that we'll be doing, providing assistance and just a hub generally for the community for any help or anything like that anyone needs, whether it's legal help or help with benefits forms or anything like this. And given that this is our first such hub, we want to just give some sort of background on why this is necessary. Obviously, after the what we would call a success in the general election, where Jody just, Labour narrowly escaped defeat from Jody. After the success of that, we want to keep the momentum going and actually do something for the community, because the Labour Party have left what can only be described as a void in this regard. I myself personally, along with Jody, attended a surgery a couple of months ago. Some of the brothers are here, where the now only Labour councillor for this ward conducted himself in what can only be described as quite an unprofessional way, and it was actually quite rude and dismissive of the concerns that were raised by some of the people who were present today. So we want to fill that void, basically. It's become necessary because of Labour's dropping the ball in this way. Labour councillors seem to think that they've inherited this in some kind of family heirloom for them, that they're getting the local Labour council, and they can just do what they want or do nothing, literally. And since the election, we've had actually they've tried to sort of, because they realise the risk from the Workers' Party, they've tried to sort of ratchet things up in terms of what they're doing or want to show themselves to be doing. So we've had the local councillor, and I'll name him Sakib, for those of you who don't know. He has arranged a few surgeries with Jess Phillips, who's the local Zionist MP. And in fact, I think there was one scheduled recently where he didn't attend, or at the last minute he basically cancelled it, put it online, and then dismissed various people that he didn't want to be in attendance from the meeting. So that's been the state of play so far. Now, someone like Jody, you're going to get the exact opposite of that. Someone who's genuine, who means to work well for the community, someone who's dedicated to causes of not only international and foreign policy issues and anti-imperialism, but at the local level as well. Actually, genuinely wants to help people and has been an activist for close to 2 decades now. So, without further ado, I'll hand over to Jody to speak now.
Thank you very much, Roger, and thank you everyone for attending today. I want to start by saying how appreciative and indebted I feel to the community of Small Heath and to the people who live here, because we will always remember when we arrived at the count on the night of July 4th, when the local Labour councillor for Small Heath said to one of my volunteers, quote, "Jody ran a very good campaign, but everyone votes for Labour in the end." That's what he said at the start of the night. By midnight and by the early hours of the morning, he had a very different expression on his face. And that was because when we saw the ballot boxes from Marlborough School, from Old Know Road, from St Benedict's Road, when we saw the ballot boxes being turned over and the votes pouring onto the table, we saw what can only be described as a whitewash for our campaign, as a total and utter humiliation of the Labour Party within this ward. And this is a safe ward for Labour. This is the fact that they want to cover up now. This is the real story that they want to distort now. The fact is, yes, Labour retained the seat by the skin of their teeth, by a few hundred votes, but that was not the real story of the night. The real story of the night was that with our people-powered campaign, we achieved something that no one thought we'd be able to achieve. We took a Labour safe seat and turned it into one of the most marginal seats in the country. As Roger just mentioned, particularly in Small Heath, Labour act as if political power is their personal right, is something they're automatically entitled to. And you could argue that for a long time that was the case. But this is a myth that we smashed at the general election. The myth that you have to vote for Labour. The myth that there's no alternative. We prove that there is an alternative. But of course, this is in the past. The general election's in the past. And the question is now, how do we turn to the future? The establishment parties are very much hoping that our campaign disappears, that we go quietly into the night, as you might say. And the fact that we haven't disappeared is driving them crazy, to be honest. Just to give one small example, when I made the announcement for this event, our inaugural surgery, that as Roger mentioned, we're hoping to run once a month here, inshallah, the Labour activists online, or as I like to call them, the Labour fanatics, the Labour extremists, went into an absolute frenzy. It was really shocking. They said, you can't do this, you're not the MP, you're not this. I never thought in my life that tea and biscuits would cause such a stir. But the real reason behind this is that this movement really worries them. Really, really worries them, because it goes to the heart of the political process and the democratic process in this country, which for a long time has been run within very strict parameters, i.e., you're free to vote for whoever you want, as long as it's person A or person B. This is what we're here to challenge. So how do we do this? First of all, I would like to announce today, for the first time I think, that it is my intention, if I'm able to do so, if I'm given the energy and ability to do so, that I will stand in Small Heath in the local elections in 18 months.
Well done.
Because what the Labour councillor for Small Heath showed on July 4th is that he's completely misread the community. He's completely misunderstood the strength of feeling, yes, about local issues, but primarily about the genocide in Gaza that has not only continued, but is getting worse by the day. With our tact, I was speaking to one of our volunteers today who was telling me about an arms company that operate not too far from here in Leicester, where taxpayers' money is being used to produce and export parts for weapons that are exported to the Israeli state. So when people ask what Gaza has to do with Britain or why people are talking about Gaza all the time, it's because children are being killed in our name. Families are being killed and starved to death in our name. So yes, Small Heath is only one ward, it's only one area, but the ripple effect we're going to cause from Small Heath, God willing, is going to be huge. I promise you. I promise you that the beating Labour are going to take in Small Heath, God willing, in the council elections will be a major story that resonates not only around the UK, but around the world, inshallah. Because as a community, we are saying, yes, our government is complicit in its genocide, but not in our name. And we're certainly not going to be voting for the party who are in government supporting this policy. The second thing I'd say moving forward is that the reason I call our result a victory is because we sent a shock through the political system and we achieved one of our targets of teaching Labour a lesson. We definitely taught Labour, well, I thought we had. Perhaps we haven't from their behaviour since moving into power. But our victory really was 100% down to the volunteers I had and the team I had around me. We had 100 volunteers on the streets on July 4th from the morning until 10 p.m. when the polls closed. And this is something that the other parties cannot compete with. That's just a fact. Labour and the Conservatives can have all the money in the world, all the media backing in the world, but they can't motivate and inspire ordinary residents in the way that our campaign did and will continue to do, I believe. So I would encourage everyone here to get involved in the campaign as much as you can, even if it's 1 hour on a Saturday or a couple of hours on the weekend. I have a letter we were distributing today in Small Heath, and we will be distributing in the other wards as well over the next few weekends, because this is the way ultimately we are going to win the seat in Yardley. This time it was a snap election. We did everything we could. We came very close. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get over the line. But now we have 4 years. And if we prepare in the right way and act diligently and work hard and get out and speak to every voter who's already on our side, but perhaps they didn't get out to vote that day, then I'm sure come the next general election, we will be winning by thousands rather than hundreds of votes. So my message for today, from today really, is this surgery will now be a chance for everyone to get together on a monthly basis to raise tell me what are the most important issues facing the community and to communicate this to the wider community, to your friends and family and neighbours. Because I think whether it's councillors or MPs, our elected representatives often forget that they are precisely that, representatives. They're here to represent you rather than dictate to you what they think the best policy is. So please get involved, please get in touch, join the WhatsApp group, come to the surgeries and tell me what I need to do on your behalf to push this campaign forward. Thank you very much, and we're going to open to discussion and question now.
Assalamualaikum, thank you for that. We appreciate it. As probably you're aware, up until the election and just after, we used to have 2 Labour councillors for small wards. And for years and years and years, we haven't had any proper representation of the people from whatever angle you can look at. So one's now defected to the Liberal Democrats, yet still has the qualities of a Labour councillor. What do you think, or do you perceive Liberal Democrats to be a force to be reckoned with, given that they've now also upped the ante in small people?
On a personal level, I have to say that Labour are very much my main target. The reason I say that is because, look, I would say the political establishment as a whole in the UK, whether it's Labour or the Conservatives or the Liberal Democrats, whichever party we're talking about, I would say that the political establishment as a whole and the British state has a very pro-Israeli stance by default. And this is something that we've noticed for decades now as a community. And also, as you say, they are often very, particularly in the council level sometimes, very unresponsive to local residents. I think part of the reason that is because council elections are often won on a very low turnout with a very small number of votes. So perhaps, I'm not the expert, but perhaps that leads to an attitude of, I'm going to win this seat anyway, whatever I do. For me, on a personal level, I have an issue with Labour because their statements at a high level have been not only unacceptable but criminal. They've cut the man who's now our Prime Minister said yes, they have the right to cut off food and water. So for me, Labour are the main party that I have an issue with. But I think we're trying to offer an alternative to the establishment as a whole.
So, follow up one question.
Go for it.
When it comes to Labour, I mean, you've seen the representation or poor representation. We voted Labour, now we've got Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats' current councillor clearly put herself above the people. What assurances will you give that you'll put the people above your party?
That's a great question. I would undoubtedly, if I was ever asked by any party I was standing for or any organisation I was representing, if I was forced or asked to do anything which betrayed my own principles or went against the interests of the community, I would stand down and run as an independent. And the fact is, during the general election campaign, for the first half of the campaign, I was effectively running as an independent. So I have no problem whatsoever doing that, because I don't believe that the name or symbol of the party that you're standing under is the most important thing. What I do believe is that any organization which is committed to the principles that we believe in and we stand for, I'm happy to work with them. As I was saying to someone earlier, that we have to put in our mind to beat Labour or the Conservatives anywhere in the country is almost impossible as it is. But it's not impossible. But if we're busy fighting with each other and fighting ourselves, then it will be impossible. But yeah, to answer that question directly, I'd have no issues doing that.
Okay, yeah, this gentleman.
Afternoon, my name's Jerry. It's no secret that I'm a member of the Lib Dem Party. Just in case anyone thinks I'm keeping it secret. Small Heath has, and the reality is, I stood in 2015 for Small Heath. I won't be standing here again.
I thought it was me versus you.
Let me put it like this. I would not stand against you because I'm a realist and I believe people, their vote is important and people should get what they vote for. So I'd not stand against you because I'll be honest, what would be the point for me to go around walking, leafleting? I won't win, okay? So the question I want to put to you is, first, Small Heath is a two-councillor ward. So who are you standing with, the Workers' Party? Because I think that's vitally important. The Workers' Party need two candidates.
Yeah.
I've spent this morning, and people know, as I frequently do, walking around the area of Small Heath. You know, to where I brought up, I love Small Heath. I'm from the Irish community. The Irish community left, but they didn't tell me where they were going.
And
I reported, everyone knows, for years and years. I've just come from Camelot Way.
Yeah.
About 7 months ago, I went out to Camelot Way with a journalist, and they did an article about the rubbish all along Camelot Way and the pavement. I've gone there again. It's still there. This Labour Council has failed the people, is failing the people, and will continue to fail the people. The councillors in this area have been Labour councillors for how many years now? Yes, for many, many years. And I'm also ex-Labour. Sadly, they fail Small Heath. They continue to fail Small Heath. And if they're re-elected, it will go on and on and on. So my question is, who are you standing with as your second candidate for the area? And are you just going to build up people's expectation in this area to let them down? Because the Palestine issue is a big, important issue. The Liberal
The
Democrat,
moral issue of this age.
if you look, the Liberal Democrat policy on Gaza and Palestine is almost exactly the same as the Workers' Party.
Is it?
It is. We all sing, to use the Christian term, we all sing from the same hymn sheet. The only difference between the Lib Dem and the Workers' Party is that the Workers' Party is more vociferous. Sadly, the Liberal Democrats need to raise their voices and shout their policies out. They seem to be quite shy of actually standing by their policy, shouting and coming out to the streets. I've been on the demonstrations with Ayub Khan. And for anyone who thinks that change can't be brought about, Ayub Khan is the example. And Ayub Khan, ex-Liberal Democrat, realised the party wasn't shouting enough when they had a good policy on Gaza and Palestine. So it's not
Slightly tendentious line of argument that you're running, but we'll go with it. But can you keep it short so you can answer the actual question?
But it is about building up community expectation, because what we need to see is not just the rhetoric of politics, it's the Workers' Party physically out there. If I ask you at this moment in time, since the end of the general election, how many litter picks have you done? How many street cleans have you done? How many times have you gone around looking at the parking issues, the issues we have with 24-hour shops, the antisocial behaviour, the prostitution, which has gone on year and year and year and year and year.
Yeah.
So if you're standing and if you're elected, what I understand from my knowledge of Small Heath is what they don't want is another councillor, whatever party, who's given good speech, has fought the good fight, and we don't see them. They're not there on the streets, day in, day out, joining the litter picks, fighting for Small Heath Park. Naeem can tell you it's a massive list. I'm just fearful we're going to be in the same situation. So your manifesto, tell us what it is you're going to do and get that message out straight away to Small Heath. So we know, the residents of Small Heath know what you're going to do. They can hold you to account and they can watch if you're doing it now.
Great
prescription
question.
there for you as well.
Great. So a very good question, very important question. So I'll try to answer both parts. On the issue of Palestine, I would actually have to disagree that the Liberal Democrats have the same policy as the Workers' Party. Actually, I would, and this is not in a derogatory manner, and I'm open to be corrected, but I would say that on paper, they probably have a much closer position to the Labour Party's official position, which is that there should be a two-state solution. And actually, this is what all the parties say on paper: Labour, Liberal Democrats, and Conservative. Another point I would make is that although maybe it's not as prominent as the other parties, the Liberal Democrats have a Liberal Democrats Friends